Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. I'm so excited to celebrate with you today once again, Hanna Tanajura. I love Hanna. She is just so brilliant. She is a very, very bright rising star in our field of astrology. You've seen her on my channel before. We've worked together before, and Hanna is coming back to Synchronicity University as part of the March 2026 speaker series. You've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate. As always, just $5 a class to learn from Hanna, these other incredible astrologers. Now, let's jump in. Hanna, welcome. Thank you for being here again.
Oh, thank you, Nadiya. Thank you for such a warm welcome. I am always so excited, so honored, so overjoyed to be back at Synchronicity University. You have built and you continue to build such an incredible school. You have an incredible team, and you have not only your own shining presence, superstar, goddess, that you get to, shine your light in to all of us, but also what I love about you is, and what I really respect in you is that you give space to new voices and established voices. Like, you're so inclusive. And I just really love that so much and appreciate that so much in you. And I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to be teaching again at Synchronicity. I get to be featured right next to the great STEVEN FORREST. I don't know how that happened, but I could get used to it.
I know, right? Like, to have one of the biggest dogs alive is awesome. Astro legend, I'll tell you. And, just to let everybody know, Hanna and I, like, as soon as we saw each other on camera, we started talking. So we've already been talking for like an hour. And I was like, look, let's just start recording. Like, let's just do it and have people in on our conversation, because we were having so much fun. But yeah, STEVEN FORREST, I mean, he is just brilliance and love and wisdom just all together. And actually, just before I got on camera with you, I was interviewing him. So I'm feeling like fresh off of all of that, love and wisdom that he has to share. But we are very, very fortunate. And I'm really grateful that these other, like, really shining lights, up and coming, that they're ready, like yourself, superstars in their own right, are able to be part of this, and people get to learn even more about you as well. So that's one of the benefits. And I know STEVEN, he's just so generous, like, of spirit, of heart. He's a generous person. So yes, we're very fortunate. Thank you to my team member in particular, Gilbert, who is a big part of what makes the school happen and come together the way that it does. And I know the teachers really like working with him too. So that's really nice. So
Gilbert is awesome.
Yes, Gilbert is awesome. We love Gilbert. Yes. Yay, Gilbert. Hi, Gilbert. Hug to Gilbert. Yeah. I'll let him know. GILBERT. Woohoo. Okay. Okay, so as just before we started recording, what were we talking about? I said, oh yes, we started talking about Bad Bunny. Didn't we start talking about Bad Bunny? Now, so many people I know, I'm seeing online, myself included, cried seeing that Super Bowl. I mean, yes, his chart, he's having his Saturn return. Lots of astrologers have talked about how he's exemplifying his chart so perfectly. He's got a whole bunch of planets in Pisces, and then he's got a Mercury in Aquarius, and that's so who he is. And actually, I remember back in 2021, I think it was, or 2022, I said to people, hey, what kind of shorts do you want to see? Give me your questions. And somebody asked me to do one on Bad Bunny. And I remember doing a video on him back then. So many years ago, and talking about his chart, talking about him. And so it's wonderful to see him evolve and just become more. I even saw him in concert in 2024, it was. And even from then, he's grown so much, he's evolved so much. So it was such a moment that was so meaningful to so many people. It was so Piscean in a way, right? It was like this watershed, but then it had that Aquarius where it was like, no, like this is, I'm going to do something that is almost revolutionary, right? Like almost like, no, I'm speaking my truth for the collective, but bringing all the people together in the collective, but ultimately for humanity. It felt like such a huge cultural moment.
I agree. I cried too. Oh my God, so much to say, but uh, I think what was so special was that it was not, even though he was the one on the spotlight, it was really not about him. It was about, which is, I think, Pisces at its best, right? It's about the collective. It's about everyone. It's about how we come together in unity, which I think it was his message. It was a message of love, of inclusion, of how we are this huge continent and we're all a part of it. And each voice matters, each culture matters, each country matters. So I thought the whole thing was it was so beautiful. And I love how he was surrounded by people. Yes, he was a singer, he was the one on the spotlight, but it was really about everyone. And even the way it was filmed, you felt like you're in the party. Didn't you feel like you're in the party? Okay, one question for you, Nadiya. I actually thought about you and I said, I need to ask Nadiya this. Did you cry when they started playing Gasolina?
Oh my God, I love you so much for saying. Of course, I went like, oh, but then I know like Daddy Yankee's probably never going to perform that live again, right? Because
Did
he's
you
on.
think that he might show up? Like,
well, look, I had hoped, but it didn't seem like it was going to happen because he's so on a different kick now, right? Like Daddy Yankee really is. But speaking of Daddy Yankee, I don't want to like lose track because all roads lead to Daddy Yankee.
I had to ask.
I love that you asked. Thank you. And I loved like he had just enough of like honoring the old school, right? Because he had a clip of Don Omar and then he had like Calderon, right? He had a clip of that music as well. So it was like this little piece and he put that Gasolina in there. But yeah, like, what's so interesting is that for years and years, Daddy Yankee on his Wikipedia out there, his birthday was February 3rd, 1977. What happens on his birthday this year, just a few days ago? He says, I've turned 50. So that means his birthday was always 76, but the information out there was wrong of 77. Now, the thing that always struck me because I looked at the synastry, I was like, why do I like this guy so much, his music so much? What's going on? Because normally there's some kind of synastry between you and the artist when you feel like you resonate with an artist or their art. And I always just felt like, wow, the chart is just a lot like mine. I think I'm just seeing myself in something he's doing here. But then the 76, he literally is born just a few days after me. And our charts are that much more exact alike. And it was mind blowing to me to be like, wow, like really, we have so much in common. And I really think it was always myself that I was looking at with him, because what I always loved about him is that it was never, anytime I saw him in concert, you never got a sexy vibe from him at all. Like other singers, especially in reggaeton, when you watch them, you're like, oh, wow, this person's going to have a party. This person's like, somebody's out here collecting girls for this person to have fun afterwards. But with him, you never, ever got that feeling. You always got the feeling of, I'm here to work. I'm a boss. I'm a professional. And it just really inspired me to pursue my own goals, to be ambitious in my own way, to work harder is what he really inspired me to do. And I think it's because the charts are so alike is what it really came down to. And so I love that you asked me about that. But the other thing is, I thought to myself, and the thing that got me emotional, among other things, was, I remember in 2012, and I had been saying for over a year that I wanted to go to Mexico for the end of the Mayan calendar, right? And then it just sort of almost miraculously came together that I had the money to be able to go at the end of 2012. So my business was in a really different place at the time. I was living below the poverty line in Canada at the time, but I didn't know it at the time, but it was really like my last year of having to do that. Thank you, universe. But I remember when I went everywhere, I heard this song. And when I came home on the 1st of January, 2013, I remember thinking, I heard that song everywhere. It must be popular. I should be able to find it. So I looked up the Billboard, Latin billboards, and I'm searching it. And when I heard this song, I had a spiritual experience that said to me, I had to go back to Mexico. I had some karma there, and I didn't know if it would take 10 years or 10 days or 1 year or 1 month. I had to figure it out, and I had to go back, and I had to learn this language. And it was a Daddy Yankee song, right? It was called La Bamba. So it was one of his songs that did it. And his music just, it brought me to life. And I don't want to get too emotional about this, but when I was watching it, I was thinking how much richer my life is because I know this language. How much more I have become because I know these places he's mentioning. I know this culture. And I just felt like gratitude, and I felt like grateful that so many people who feel like they don't get seen were seen. And even though like I'm a South Asian person, I feel a spiritual connection to the Americas and to the people of the Americas and these places I've been, in Mexico in particular. It's like, you know, my house of my heart, mi casa de corazón. It is like, I feel such a strong bond and loyalty to the place. And to see people recognized, you know, who felt invisible, who never saw themselves like that. It was so healing for me. And I'm sure so many people felt that. And yeah, like to hear Gasolina, to come back to your question, yeah, it was like, wow, to remember, to feel, to realize that I am more because of this language, because of this culture. And these are the artists who made it happen for me, who allowed that, who were the conduits of that. It's my first Spanish. It was the first places I learned Spanish. So yeah, it was a deeply cathartic thing, I think, for a lot of people, especially after feeling, and I know what people have been feeling, attacked, you know, dehumanized, and to see their humanity represented. It was a beautiful thing. Even Canadians are celebrating here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Like even Canadians are like, wow, we didn't even know how us not being seen felt until we were seen. Yeah, that's how it felt for me. How did it feel for you?
I mean, I could have not said it better than you just did. Yeah, so beautiful, Nadia. I cried too. I felt really touched by it. Um, I think the recognition, I mean, there's so much, like it was such a rich show to begin with. And that's why I was mentioning, like, it really wasn't about him. He was talking about the history of where he's coming from and the people and the life and the culture and, you know, the everyday people, the everyday places, how, you know, how so many Puerto Ricans and how many Latinos that have come to the States, have come to the United States to find better lives, and that they created communities here, but also that constant sense of like we're you know we're part of it, but we don't belong at the same time. We're not always welcome, you know. So there's something about the just the reminder that first of all, we do belong. There is space for everyone. And this country is actually richer because of the many cultures that coexist here. And how together it's really, I mean, it's so cliche, but it's what Pisces is about. And I think that was part of his message. Like, together we are one, right? You know, including people instead of excluding people. And just what you said about it's such a difficult time with what's going on in this country. And I think the sense of not belonging is ever more present, and fear. And yeah, so I agree with you. There's something so healing about it, and to see yourself up on the screen. And, for example, like there was one scene that was like probably my favorite, where you have that one kid sleeping on the chair and he wakes up the kid. Like every Latino kid has been that kid.
Every
Growing
South Asian kid has been that kid. I'll tell
really.
you, that's
Oh,
true. I was like, oh my God, of course. We
wow.
do
I
that
didn't know
too.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so wonderful. And that's why I think it's amazing. Like we felt part of the show. Like we could, we could see ourselves. And I think
Yeah.
that's just, and I go back to this being super repetitive. It wasn't about him. Like this was not, like he was just kind of the representative of something much, much larger that he spoke on the behalf of. And we got to participate in it. And we got to remember, I think we got to remember how essential we are, each one of us. And it's really hard to forget. I mean, it's really easy to forget that, because when we are in a place where it's not always welcoming and we look different and we speak a different language, whatever it is, right? And it's really easy to put ourselves in. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I moved here back in 2007, and I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I was different. I felt like I had to, I mean, my first language is Portuguese, but for the longest time, I was like, I don't even want to be around Brazilians because I really need to learn English so I can, fit in and find my way in this new country. So I think there's something really special about remembering that what we bring, each one of us, is all of it. All of it. I think it's so essential, which is not kind of, I think it's very much what I want to say in this Jupiter in Leo class. It's very much how I hope that this Jupiter in Leo really brings that reminder that each one of us has such a creative power within, however that shows up. And it's time to bring forward, and it's time to bring that contribution to life itself, because we all know 2026 is a really monumental year. We're having so many big shifts. We have Saturn moving into Aries, Neptune that just moved into Aries. They're meeting at the 0 degrees of Aries. Like there's a lot of fire in the sky. And then a few months later, Jupiter moves into Leo, another fire sign. So there's a lot of creativity that I think we're going to step into and tap into. And that sense of a new beginning. I keep calling this year like the year of self-authorship. So it's like, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in this new world that we are creating together? We're co-creating together. And I think this Jupiter in Leo can really help us connect with the wisdom of our hearts and create on behalf of that, from that place. Because, and it goes back to what Bad Bunny said in the show, believe in yourself. And right, he said that right in the beginning. I'm here because I believed in myself. So I think this Jupiter in Leo can help us believe in ourselves and then show up from that place and contribute to that place. Because ultimately, it's not just about me, it's about all of us together.
Amazing. I love that you mentioned that. Thank you for that reminder of Jupiter in Leo, because you're so right. I think so many of us have been focusing on the one hand, the fact that right now Jupiter is in Cancer, as we are at the beginning part of 2026. And so Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So there's lots of emphasis being placed on Jupiterian energy. And also we're finishing up these really big water energies of Neptune recently. And now literally, we are just a couple days away as we're recording this from Saturn leaving Pisces, moving into fire. So these energies are already starting to change. But Jupiter in Leo is actually a really big part of that great sextile near Star of David energy we're going to have in July. It's a huge part of it because it is going to be Jupiter that is going to be at 4 degrees, standing across Pluto at 4 degrees of Aquarius, trining Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries, sextile Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini. So it is ultimately that Jupiter that really sets up that larger near Star of David configuration in a big way. And I hadn't thought of that interpretation. I love how you put it, that it's about stepping into our own royalty, stepping into a sense of saying, no, I'm going to believe in myself, and how healing that can be to say, you know what, I'm going to believe, I'm going to go with heart. There's something very pure about that, right? When you say, you know what, it doesn't matter whatever was before, whatever has been. No, let's go in new directions. Let's go in new territory now and let my heart lead the way.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. Let my heart lead the way. Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to what you said about we have been in this Jupiter in Cancer, because if Jupiter is all about growth and expansion, right? In Cancer, there can be a lot of expansion, but it's very internal, right? It's a slower pace. It's more internal, more reflective. So there's been a lot of growth, but not necessarily visible, right? Not necessarily something that's externalized. And it's a water sign, so it has everything to do with becoming, incubating, gestating, feeling, processing, digesting, all the Cancerian themes. So as this Jupiter moves into Leo, now, to me, that speaks about this energy that's been internalized now, kind of that boost forward and external boost, and creativity and confidence, like I think we can all tap into more confidence. And I think for many people it might be easy. They might be already very confident and they might already be acting on their purpose and their joy and their heart, having their hearts fulfilled. But I think probably also many people have been a little lost with all these planets in Pisces, a lot of water. So it's a lot of like, oh, I know what I don't want to do, but I haven't yet started, my new cycle, my new chapter. So I think this year can really help people. And I'm going to put myself in this box as well to take action forward. And one of the things that I want to talk about during this class is towards the end of this year, 2026 into next year, Jupiter is going to meet the South Node, the transiting South Node, and then Mars is going to come. They're going to be traveling together, and then the Mars and Jupiter are going to go retrograde, and then they're going to move forward again. So for months, we're going to have this trio together, traveling together. So I think that's going to be a really interesting time of moving forward and then kind of doing that retrograde, kind of stepping backwards, reviewing, what am I doing? How do I want to move forward? Is this working? Is this not working? But we know that Mars, Jupiter, and the sky is going to be like, we got to take action, right? We got to do something. We're not going to be able to stand still and do nothing and just see how things go. Like, we're going to feel that desire to create, because ultimately, I think that's what this is about. It's about creating, my creation. So now I think our job is what's my heart wanting to bring forward and give birth to? Well, who do I want to become? What do I want to do? So I think it's exciting.
Yeah, look at that. Thank you for mentioning that, because look, you're so right. It's like Mars and Jupiter are together for months, essentially. For months, they remain within orb of each other. And we can see here, like right into May, from November to May. Wow, what a powerful observation. It's like, it's going to make that Jupiter energy that much more undeniable. But interestingly, when they first meet, it is going to be with the South Node. Look at that. Look at that. They meet right with the South Node. Incredible, because to me that represents a big karmic moment. Look at
Yeah.
that. Look at that. Wow. That and how do you interpret the nodes? I mean, I know one of my books is on the nodes. I have my way, but I'd love to hear how you interpret the nodes. I'll close this out. But what are your thoughts about the nodes?
Well, to me, the nodes are really showing I mean, I am an evolutionary astrologer, so, my focus on when reading any charts, when doing any astrology, is to think about the path of our souls, where we're coming from, where we are, where we're going. Really, the soul being this eternal, forever, being that will continue to expand throughout forever into eternity. So the nodes are really showing that evolutionary path. So where am I coming from? Where am I going? So I like to think about the nodes as the promises we make to ourselves when we come into this life. So, the South Node being, speaking about the past, and I know that there's a lot of, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the South Node, but I know a lot of astrologers think the South Node is already something negative or something that you have to move away from. But I believe the South Node is part of the wisdom that we're here to bring forward, what we've learned, because, if it's true and we lived in different lifetimes, we've done the South Node many lifetimes. So we're good at it. So there's talents there, there's, gifts. So now if we're talking about the transiting nodes, which is the case here, Jupiter with the South Node, we're all going to be experiencing this. There's something about bringing forward wisdom that's already innate, that we already have, that's already within all of us. So to me, it's part of that. Maybe some of us will have like old projects that are being, being um, bringing them back to life, or things that we don't even know that live in if we're speaking about the heart, like maybe some of us are going to feel surprised, like, oh, I didn't know I had this in me. I didn't know I had this message. I didn't know I had this passion. So something about, I think, wisdom from the past coming forward, and also if we're talking about the transiting nodes as something much larger than just our individual lives, but the soul of humanity. Um, I I would say that there's something very important about um, the heart of humanity expanding. Um, and it takes me back to what I already said, something about how if we bring, I mean, just picture that for a second, Nadiya. Like, imagine if all of us, each one of us, were really creating and living a life from that heart space. We're all fulfilled. We're all authentic. We're all being exactly who we came here to be. Like, this world would be a incredible place to live in, right? Where I got to be me and you got to be you and we got to do this together. It was like it'd be like we're in this party together and we all get to contribute, from that place of our hearts really full. So to me, that's the best expression of, this Jupiter and the South Node and Mars, etc. But another, I think, one good point to mention is that Jupiter is well known as the Santa Claus, right, of the Zodiac, the great benefactor. And that could also be I think we need to also be careful with that, because with any astrological configuration, there is potential, but there's also the potential for shadow, for risks and challenges. So I think what we need to be aware of during these times with this Jupiter and Leo is excess. Too much right? And overconfidence and even biting more than we can really, taking on too many projects. So having that like so much enthusiasm and exciting, which can be amazing and inspiring, but forget to eat, forget to drink enough water because there's not going to be any earth in our sky. It's all fire and air. So I think we also need to be careful because as with all this fire can also burn. It can burn down, right? Whole cities. So I think we need to also be careful with that and how we use these energies in a positive and healthy way, not just for ourselves, but in our community as well.
Wow, that's a wonderful observation. Like, okay, even though in this particular chart we have the sun sort of finishing off Scorpio season, and we do have Mercury retrogrades this year that are in water. And yet, when we look at the big planets, right, which speak to, as you were saying, like the big cultural moments, the big sort of larger collective will and direction and how we're understanding where we're going together, it's all fire and air. You're so right. Yeah. Isn't that phenomenal to consider? And I was thinking, with Jupiter on the South Node, I tend to see that as a fortunate end, a fortunate end. And it's got Mars there. And Mars is impulsive, it is sudden, and it is in the sign of Leo, which has to do with rulers, the rulers who are there. So that'll be interesting to see how that might come together. But again, there's a fortunate sense of whatever might be happening. And so let's, of course, hope for the absolute best for all beings concerned. But it is a part of life. Just like the South Node is a part of life, so is the North Node. Just like Mars is a part of life, so is Venus, right? And what I mean by that is it's part of the world we've co-created together, is that with the South Node, there's closures, there's endings, there's exits. Jupiter's blessings. Mars is suddenly, the things that happen or that fill us with adrenaline, or because of adrenaline, there's ending. And then the North Node is about the good coming in, right? The fortunate new things beginning. So it'll be interesting to see how that contrast plays out for us in the collective. But what I can say, and I agree with you, and I knew it because you are somebody who has been a student of Maurice Fernandez, and I know your grounding in evolutionary astrology, how great an astrologer you are. I've seen it up close. So I wanted to get your opinion, and I love how you expressed that. And yeah, I so agree. There's this sense of almost like a realignment of soul, right, happening for the collective. And so how we bring that forward will be really interesting to see, but there'll be something very, I think, ultimately perfect about all of it as it should be. Now, you mentioned Jupiter and Mars are going to be on the South Node at this time in November. Big moment of the year. But I just want to say, because I was looking at this just the other day, when we go forward, it is going to be, I believe it's in 2027, later in 2027, that Pluto is going to conjunct the North Node. And I think that's going to be a big moment. I think it's stepping into 2027 by then. Let's see what we get here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it is at 4, isn't it? There it is. So it is in November of 2027. So a full year later, almost to the day, a year later, it is to the day that we are going to have Pluto on the North Node. And as much as Jupiter and Mars on the South Node is about closures and endings and exits, the North Node is about what's new, what's next, what's coming in. And look at this, Neptune sextile.
Wow.
Uranus trine.
Yeah.
Isn't that phenomenal to consider, right? Absolutely phenomenal to consider. Now here we're going to have Mercury moving quickly and square to this, but I think that's going to be, noise, fears might be there. Chiron also squaring. I actually think Chiron squaring Pluto is like a saving grace of an energy, because if we didn't have that Chiron square, we'd just be going along for the ride. Like we just, okay, whatever governments want to do, whatever power plays are being made, whatever. But because of the square, we're going to be like, hey, we have bodies. Hey, we are like people. We are living, right? We are human. What about that human factor? And that just might be what brings in the questions that we should be asking to ensure that we're making this journey more consciously. So, how wonderful for us to be reminded of all these really big transits coming up.
So true. And another, I think, really important point about this Jupiter Mars on the South Node, all in Leo, it's about new leadership,
Yeah.
right? And we're like this Pluto. So a year later, when we have this Pluto on the North Node, so much, I think so much of how we're going to experience this Pluto on the south, the North Node depends on what kind of leadership, what kind of government we have. And like you mentioned, Chiron will be squaring that in Taurus, which is money, honey, right? The economy. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with all the digital currency, Aquarius? Like, what are we going to see in terms of global, right? Aquarius, Pluto on the North Node, like globally speaking, there's going to be shifts and transformation. We know with the Taurus, it's going to be about money and resources and land and agriculture, food, like all these big themes that this Chiron in Taurus will bring. So again, it takes back to so much will depend on who's in power, like who's taking leadership, right? How are they managing things? And again, with this Jupiter in Leo, it's also a time for all of us to step into more leadership in our lives, however the context we're in. But what kind of world do we want to build? What kind of leader do we want to be? What kind of leaders do we want to see in the world? Because it's going to impact our future, our near future, right? With this Pluto in Aquarius and the nodes in Leo Aquarius as well. And we're in this Pluto in Aquarius for what, 18, 19 more years? So we can't escape it.
I know, right? It's huge that we're going to still have this energy. Yeah, it's about 17, 18 more years to come.
Yeah.
And we're at the very beginning of a very slow, larger transit. This is going to be a huge moment as part of that in 2027. And I was thinking when I looked at this also about how right now a lot of people are already talking about AI and how AI is changing a lot of the types of work that is available and entry level stuff, for example. And it's so true. I mean, it's interesting because I know, because I have people who help me with my work, and there's something about when you automate a predictability that is there that appeals to people, right? Not so much about, like, at least for me, not necessarily thinking about just the money part of it, but that the work getting done, and how people feel about that. And it's controversial. And, look, I'm thinking also about the fact that over the last year, a lot of companies have reached out. Like every single day, we at my website, people using contact forums, they reach out and they say, hey, I want to form a partnership with Nadiya. Sometimes it's an affiliate thing. Sometimes it's, a sponsorship thing. And we're very selective. I am very selective. And we have gotten a lot of requests related to AI. So we've gotten like a lot of companies who've started astrology AI programs where you can chat with a bot and that bot can give you information about your chart. Now, some of these are better than others. Some of these AIs, a friend of mine started Sue's AI, and I really like that a lot. but we've reached out, or a lot of people have reached out about this. And I know that it's kind of controversial, right? Because at least with Sue's AI, as far as I know, because she's a friend of mine who's created this, it's her wisdom. So it really is like you're chatting with her, and it's her information she's put into this. And so when you are asking it a question, it's not the whole of the internet that this bot is asking. It's her work that is being asked of. Now, this is what I believe. I could be wrong, but I know that she's a wonderful and brilliant astrologer. But a lot of these programs and people who reach out about this, it is not that way, right? It is that they are like, yeah, like one person I remember, it was a WhatsApp thing, and you can chat with it on WhatsApp, but it's literally like all the astrological wisdom of the world you're getting, which means other people did the work. Other astrologers did the work. And that makes it controversial right now in our life and in our world. Is it going to stay that way? It's becoming more and more normalized. It's like more and more people are accepting that this is how it is. Mm-hmm. But then what does that do, as you mentioned, what does that do with human creation or human connection, rather? Let me stop this. Because all the wisdom of the world has been cultivated by human beings at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And what happens when you forget that? How does that change your relationships with people as you interact with people? And I think that's fascinating. And I love that you mentioned Jupiter and Leo, because Leo is one of those energies that's very present. It is in its own way very embodied. We normally think of embodied energy as earth, because earth and body kind of go together. But fire can also be very embodied, because it's about passion, it's about desire and instinct. These are very physical sensations that we have. And especially the energy of Leo. I think to myself, for example, with AI, lots of people, especially in university environments, were saying plagiarism, we have to worry about plagiarism. For me, I remember when I was in university, I always felt like if I don't do it, it just isn't mine. When I get that degree, it won't be mine. And so for me, it was like, I would rather take the B or the C or even the D, I'll tell you, right? I'd rather take that than not be honest or have somebody else do my work. But I understand I was coming at it from a different perspective. Somebody else who maybe would get in a lot of trouble with their parents, maybe feels a lot of other pressures, maybe their motivations are something else. And maybe it's not for me to judge, but for me, it was always about, I did it, I made it happen. And I think Jupiter in Leo is about that pride in you, in what you made happen, what you believed in, and what you felt passionate about. And you took a chance, you took a risk, you took a gamble, right? Because Leo is the energy of gambling. How that might come together. It is, I love how you've sort of weaved some of that factor in as well.
So true and so important, because otherwise we're just machines without the Leo, without the heart. We lose that authenticity, that uniqueness, and it actually reminds me of seeing you. I had the opportunity of seeing you teach, and I was in the audience at Omega, and sorry. And I remember watching you on stage, because it was, being at the Omega Institute last year with you and, Ruiz, Fernandez, and Aunt Orly and Lynn Bell. It was such an incredible moment for me. It was my very first time, stepping on a physical, stage. So it was a milestone in my life, and I got to be surrounded by these incredible astrologers that I look up to. And I was in that, just watching everyone take up the stage. And I remember watching you and thinking, being so inspired. I think that's the word that encapsulates that energy of Leo. It's like when you are you fully, you inspire others. And that's how I felt. I was like, wow, I want to be better. I want to do this as well. Like, yes, I'm already, in this great moment in my life, but there's more, because there's something about when we shine our lights, when we illuminate others, when we are in that illuminating ourselves, we illuminate others, right? Like just like the sun, the ruler of Leo, the sun radiates light. So we're all receiving that light from the sun, and from that light, we get to shine our own light, and then we get to illuminate others. And I think that's so, so, so important. The moment the moment Jupiter moves into Leo, it automatically opposes this Pluto in Aquarius, right? So it's its best expression is bringing the mind and the heart together. That's a true superhuman. So I think it's everything you said. There's such important, it's such important points, and the Pluto's job is to bring the shadow forward, not to make our lives miserable, but to say, hey, there's things to take care of here, right? It brings whatever is hidden, whatever, um, the shadows to the light. And I think this Pluto and Aquarius for many years that we're going to continue to experience will bring the shadows of AI, of technology, of astrology, right? You mentioned astrology. So seeing things, misuse of astrology, like you said, the case you brought. Can you imagine somehow having, technology, AI having access to your Leo, your knowledge, your experience, your light, and then all of a sudden it's available in ways that are not giving you credit for the work, right? So we got to be careful. We have to be very careful, how we manage the times. And it's such an interesting conversation. And yeah yeah
Yeah. Because these tools are valuable, right? Don't get me wrong. I think these tools are very valuable and helpful. Like, for example, I mentioned I had a birthday recently, and when I thought about it, the only place in the world I wanted to be for my birthday was Mexico. And so I ended up inviting family there some of whom had never known Mexico before. And it was so amazingly rewarding to me to share this country I love and its history and the places I knew and the history of the places, and especially in Mexico City, because my relatives were saying to me, like, you should be a tour guide here. Like, all these stories about the buildings and everything. And it's like, yeah, because I love it. I felt connected to it. I wanted to understand that connection to it. So I was very, very grateful and proud to have had that moment. But my aunt, she had James. Now, who's James? James is her chat GPT. And she was running around Mexico City. And when she needed to translate, she would be like, James, can you tell this person in Spanish that da 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 da? And then James would translate it. And then the person would talk. And then it would say, this person said da 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 da. And it helped her to have that a lot. And I remembered, in 2008, I backpacked through Italy for a couple of weeks. And all I had was my Lonely Planet guide with me and the few words that were in there. I didn't have anything else. And I'm amazed at how I made my way through and figured things out and asked people where I needed to. That doesn't really happen anymore, right? That's just a very literal, small example of how it represents disconnection, but also convenience. And also that dichotomy of how these technologies actually allow us to be even more connected at the same time.
yeah
Because my aunt was able to run around by herself with James. I didn't need to be with her. I didn't need to translate every moment of every second. She was able to go and do her shopping and ask her questions or whatever. and get it done in a way that still gave her a feeling of independence. But she had this tool with her that was so valuable. So it's interesting to see how we are choosing to evolve together right now, isn't it?
Well, and our brains are changing, right?
Yeah.
With Pluto and Aquarius, our brains, and we're still in the very beginning of it. I mean, Uranus moving into Gemini pretty soon. They're going to be trining Uranus in Gemini, trining Pluto in Aquarius. So we talked about the fire, but it's also about the mental realm, right? With these planets in Aquarius. So human brain will change. Human perspective will change, our sense of what reality is, how things work. I mean, I think we're at the age of neuroplasticity. You know, and it takes me back to something I wanted to say, but I forgot. When you asked me about the South Node, Jupiter, Mars, and Leo, this is an incredible opportunity, I believe, to break patterns from the past, right? Mars is this cut away from these old beliefs, Jupiter, about yourself, about your creative expression, about all the things that are, limiting you, that say, I don't know, your book is not good enough, or why would you dare to put this out into the world? Who do you think you are? I think there's something really, if we take advantage of this energy, we can really start fresh, really start that new chapter, rooted on confidence and who we are. And another thing about 2026 that I've been um, thinking about is that with this Saturn and Neptune and Aries meeting at the 0 degree of the zodiac, we all know. I mean, we don't have to be great astrologers to know. We know there's a new beginning happening for, like speaking about humanity here, collectively speaking. So 0 degree, there's a brand new start, ignition point, new birth. But if you think about the birth itself, it's quite of a mess, right? There is blood and the baby's crying and the mother is crying. Like there's something about like pushing forward something that we might not know exactly where we're going yet or how it's going to turn out. And I think that's part of the fire principle. Like you just said, like, take a chance, go. You don't really know how it's going to turn out yet, but have a little bit of faith. Jupiter, right? Have a little bit of faith. Take a leap of faith. So I also think it's part of this Jupiter saying to us, you don't have to have it all figured out yet. Just take a step and then take another step and then take another step and believe in yourself. Try to believe in yourself as you go through it. And you never know who you're going to inspire. I mean, I'll share this with you, Nadiya. I wanted to start a YouTube channel for years. And I'd always thought, who am I? What do I have to offer? There's so many great there's Nadiya Shah already out there. Like who would want to hear from me? And then I have this client that mentioned something to me that I'll never forget. She said, maybe you'll only touch one person. Maybe one person will watch a video you create and that one person will learn something new, or they're going to be impacted and that's going to be helpful in their life. You don't have to do it for 20 people. Just do it for one person. And that was like something clicked. And I was like, okay, my contribution doesn't have to be for to millions of people. It's just another person that I get to hopefully be of service along the way. So I think that's the greatest message of this Jupiter. Be you, show up as you, and let the magic happen, right? And maybe the magic will be tiny, maybe it's going to be huge, but it's still your contribution. And if you are alive, that means you are essential to life itself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? Like you wouldn't exist, like any of us, if we were not here to, if we were not essential to existence itself, to life itself, we simply would not exist. It's so simple, yet so powerful. So what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah,
Right?
this lifetime, right? this incarnation. Like our soul is forever, but this incarnation is finite. So what are you going to do with it? And what would you do different if you believed in yourself? But also, you know, the South Node, Jupiter, South Node, Mars, that might also be a real opportunity to release the false ego, because ego holds us back, but self-love propels us forward. And so much of what you describe with Jupiter in Leo and these incredible aspects that are coming up later in November of this year, 2026, is so much about embracing that higher vibration of heart, and the courage that naturally arises from that place is bold, and it's healing, it's beautiful, it's loving for yourself and to others.
It's
amazing. Yeah.
Where would this Leo be for you, Nadiya? Tell us.
Oh my God. For me, look, I'll tell you, this Leo, that particular triple conjunction will trine my moon. So I'm super looking forward to that. Yeah, I think it's like in my, now earlier, like I was saying, before we started, like Hanna and I were already talking for about an hour, because that's what we do. We see each other and right away we start, at least I start spilling my guts to her right away. And so it will be Jupiter Jupiter will have just stepped into my third. Okay. Jupiter will have stepped into my third for this and will be trining my sixth house moon. Exactly. This is happening was it at 25 or 26? My moon is at 26 of Sag. So it's quite the tight trine that's going to be happening there. But for the most part, most of the Jupiter in Leo transit is Jupiter in my second. And so my hope is that that helps, like, you know, bring about a greater feeling of generosity and prosperity all around, and more creative efforts that reap rewards for me, that help me to feel like I'm, you know, at the forefront of being able to participate in how abundance unfolds for me in this life. And I know it's like a powerful thing to consider where the energy is taking place, but I would think the fact that that triple conjunction is speaking to my moon makes it that much more personal. And it is third house. So third house is media. It is writing books, all of the stuff I'm already thinking about for this year. Yeah. All of the stuff. Yeah, isn't it?
I was gonna ask you if you were thinking about, you know, writing a new book, because
yes, I have two. I have two already in the works. I have a book on Black Moon Lilith that's been like 90% done for years, but every time I go to it, it doesn't feel right to continue. And so I think it's like a sign, like I know the work is there. And that kind of happened with another one of my books, actually. When I first went full-time into astrology in 2006, so I'm coming up to 20 years as a full-time astrologer.
Wow.
But back then, just before I launched, right around the time I launched, and in the couple of years after, I wrote an entire book, and it flowed forward. A couple of books I wrote, but they didn't really see the light of day. Years later, in 2008, one of them became The Body and the Cosmos. And then after that, the following year, I think it was, or the year after, one of them became Prayers to the Sky. So I had done the work, but then I left it alone. And then when it felt right, I went to it, and it ended up bringing forward these books. So it'll be interesting to see, because I'm always working on a couple of books at least, because I love it so much. And writing is such a high for me. It's so fun as somebody with a grand trine in air. And it'll be interesting to see where I go with it, how it benefits my work, how it brings me a greater feeling of usefulness, which is very sixth house, I think. What about you? Where is it happening for you?
I'm so jealous of your grand trine in air. I got no air in my chart. So if you could sell me one of those planets in air, I will buy it.
Well, look, you get transits, right? You get transits, and I'm sure that awakens stuff for you. And your third house has a ruling planet, and I'm sure you find ways to bring it forward because look, obviously you communicate, you're charismatic, you have so much to share, you're teaching, you're doing all the things. So obviously you're finding ways to express yourself.
I got a Jupiter in the third, so
Oh,
that
there you go.
definitely
Come
helps.
on.
But it's a Jupiter in Taurus.
Well, that's
For
good.
sure.
Speaking, writing, and that makes prosperity, abundance. But also to me, that's like a very being able to take what otherwise would just be a concept or an idea and making it very real, making it really tangible for people, and how that might heal others. I'm hoping that Chiron and Taurus awakens that for you, how that might heal other people to do just that. Because I know you already do that. You listen to me, you talk to me, and you're just so inspiring as you are. And you're such a good astrologer, I'll tell you. You're such a
Oh,
good
Nadiya, stop
astrologer.
it. Don't make me cry.
You're awesome. Well, look, once again, everybody, the one and only Hanna Tanajura is back at Synchronicity University as part of the March 2026 speaker series. You've got just a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn from Hanna and these other incredible astrologers, living legends, big dogs, and huge, bright, rising stars like Hanna. All of them on one bill. It'll be incredible. Hanna, thank you so much for being here again. Like I said, I love talking to you. It's so easy to talk to you. There must be some synastry stuff happening for us because it's the easiest thing to just talk to you and like time just goes by. And and you bring so much. You're just love. You're just love and brilliance, and it comes together. And I'm so looking forward to seeing how your career continues to just grow and grow and shine and shine. I had talked to Maurice about you at Omega, like sort of off to the side. And I had said, I was talking about how with some people, and I love giving opportunity, I'm very open. And some people, they come and they're really like, kind of really at the beginning, and that's okay, right? That's where they are in their growth. And then you meet people who have been doing it for a long time, so they're really pro, and like Maurice, obviously. And then you meet people who just are ready, like they have a shine, they have something in them that makes you go, yeah, this person's ready. They are there. And it's just a matter of time, and time is an illusion because they're so ready. And I was telling him that you are one of those people. You are one of the people where that was very evident to me. And he was saying that, you have been one of his students who he's so proud of because you didn't just stay here or stay with the lessons, like you ran with it. You connected with it. You understood something about purpose. You applied it, and yeah, he was proud of you. It was without a doubt, as I'm proud of you too, my dear Hanna.
Oh my goodness, it really means the world. It means, oh gosh, it means the world. And I think that's part of why I'm so committed. And I think I'm sure you feel the same, Nadiya, is because we know how incredible and sacred star knowledge is, and how much it has helped us, right, in our own life journeys, but how much it can help others. So I am so grateful. Thank you again for having me. And I just want to say this before I forget, because I had this mental note. For those watching us right now, I'm sure most of your audience, Nadiya, have not had the opportunity to meet you in person. They see you through YouTube and social media. So for those who are watching us now, if you have not met Nadiya in person yet, you have to take advantage of her still doing in person, because at one point she's going to be unreachable. She's going to be living in Venus and working from Venus.
Oh God,
But
I love
she's
you.
so incredible. I mentioned this before, like, you own the stage. It's amazing, Nadiya. You're just like, I was in awe of you, and it was such a pleasure to, hang out with you, to hug you, to learn from you. I really hope we get to be together soon again in person.
Yes.
And
Are you doing
yeah.
UAC?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. So I will
Yeah.
see you at UAC. There you go. We're going to hug in September in Chicago. Whoever wants to be there, come out, hug us in Chicago. It'll be great
It's gonna be amazing.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
will.
I'll
Yeah,
be
it's
the
always
one shoddy in the audience. Woohoo, Nadiya, go!
it'll be great. Hanna, I send you big hugs and big love. Thank you again. Oh, and thank you everybody out there for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.